Hey guys, I've completely lost the desire to do anything of an actually scheduled video, so you're just gonna have to deal with me ranting a crap ton. You're probably wondering, who is this guy who you're looking at, who has really bad hair, a kind of scruffy beard, and not completely clear skin? Well, the answer lies in the name of the channel, which is Gabriel Penn, and I am a writer. I don't really know what I'm doing, because I've never written a book before that's actually been published. I'm working on one, but I haven't actually published anything. So don't take anything I say for certain. I am not the gospel, and I am not God. But I am writing a book, and that book is called Dark Soldier. It does a lot of either breaking of character tropes or using the character tropes to make fun of them. Not that the whole book is going to be a comedy, as much as I like doing dark comedy. The book is actually technically considered a dark fantasy. But I wrote a book that I wanted to read, which I think is the best kind of book you can possibly write. Because if you want to read it, probably somebody else does too. But at the same time, I have a lot of concern about that, because now I'm actually at a part where the book can be sent to an agent, and then an editor, and then a publisher, and now I'm suddenly wondering, how many people are thinking like me when they read this book, or this kind of saga, or this entire genre. Because, as I said, typically somebody else is thinking like you when you say you want to read a certain kind of book, or you're writing a book that you would like to read. But the question is, how many people? Because that's what I've been questioning. Is it just me and like 10 other people who would like to read this kind of book? Or is it thousands? And I'm banking, like, a lot of money on this question. And it's kind of terrifying. Because as much as I like the characters, I am sending them out into the world. I'm throwing them out of the nest, into like a pack of sharks. Yeah, it's not a fun concept. As much as I would like to get the book published and people to see my work, to see the clear genius that is lodged in this brain, which there really isn't a whole lot. There's just awareness. And I've really lost my train of thought. But while I'm not thinking of what I was going to be thinking of, I'm going to explain a little bit about the whole process of how I got here. I actually started writing this book even more than 3 years ago, when I technically started writing it. I had a short story idea in mind, as most 15-year-olds do, that was kind of a joking on something that we used to do when we were young kids, which is play pretend. We would go out into my cousin's forest, which is vast and expansive, and pretend that we were soldiers in World War II. And I decided, what if I wrote a book where this actually happened? Like somehow we got transported into a different world during one of our playthings and accidentally made it real. And people loved it. At least my family did. When I say people, I typically mean my family, because as I said, I've never actually published anything for a main expansive audience besides on Inkit. Kind of awkward that way. That's how most writers tend to start out with. Their main audience is their mother, which is in my case as well. And people, my family and friends, enjoyed it very much. And so they were like, you should make this a little bit longer. And I said, well, let's do that. And it is no longer anything like the original version of how it started out. Much like George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones, which originally was about turtles. I am not kidding. Look that up on YouTube. It is hilarious. I think most people change a lot of how things are going to go, from first draft to last draft. But mine changed like a heck of a lot in 3 years. The only people who have managed to stay the same throughout the series, or even have the same names, are Zenti and Cedric. And they both changed ethnicities. And one of them changed their gender. So clearly things have changed a lot in the time that I've been writing. Yeah, very much so. So if you are planning to become a fan of this book, or support us in any way before we come to a point where we are actually publishing the book, please look at the links that I'm going to have below this video. I'm probably going to have a link to my Facebook, my Tumblr. Tumblr is a dangerous place, so if you don't have a Tumblr already, please don't look it up on Tumblr. A Twitter, and a WordPress. WordPress is fun for everybody, so please look it up on WordPress first, before anything else. Because I hardly put up anything on Facebook. Because I don't really like Facebook, because they make you have to pay things to actually make people even look at them. Which is a terrible idea. So I'm not going to talk about that one. But yes. So what are my thoughts so far on this whole process? Well, if I were to say anything to anybody else about this whole thing, I would say stick with a really good idea when you're making a book. I think a lot of friends of mine, and most people that I know when I hear about writers, they have tons of ideas in their brain. And they're not all bad ones, but people need to stick with one thing and see it through till the end, rather than being scatterbrained all the time. And I'm kind of a hypocrite for saying that, because I'm scatterbrained literally all of the time. My desk is cluttered as crap. But you should stick with one thing. It's a great idea. Because that way something actually gets done. I would say, don't be so worried about how people are going to take your stuff. I found out through beta readers, mainly, that people actually do enjoy my stuff. Not as much as I would like, sometimes. I think everybody would like to be famous. Kind of like how Eminem said it, that great and wise and powerful man. He wanted the fame, but not the cover of Newsweek, which is kind of how I feel. I would like to have my books looked at by thousands of people, and people saying, oh, how wonderful this is. But I wouldn't like to be that famous. I wouldn't like to be followed around by paparazzi. But back to these different tips and stuff that I was giving for other writers. What did I have first? I said to not be worried about what people thought in the end. Write what you like to write. That is my thing. Because if you write for somebody else, for an audience, you're more than likely going to like it less. But if you write for yourself, and it doesn't get as popular, you're probably not going to care as much, because it wasn't for them anyway. That's just my 2 cents there. I don't know if that's true by other authors, because I think a lot of other authors do write just to get money. They don't probably put as much metaphor in there nearly as much as we think they do. Because as I reread my piece, I was like, hey, people could probably take this as metaphor. That's not originally how I wrote it. And that was not what I intended at all. I just thought it would sound cool. So in the end, if you'd like to subscribe to this ranting person here, who really did not say anything of terrible importance, please click the subscribe button down below. And I will be doing a lot more videos. Probably not nearly as ranty as this one, which involve sword fighting, writing tips, because I don't really know that much, but I can say a lot of cool sounding things. More stuff about the book. I'm probably going to start showing illustrations eventually, not my own, because my style is kind of anime-ish and really not meant for a book, in my personal opinion. I'm going to be showing a lot of fun stuff, I think. In my personal opinion, they're going to be fun. But, as I said, I'm not doing things for other people, so at very least, I'm going to enjoy these videos. Or I'm going to try. Sounding off. That was a terrible ending, but I'm going to go with it.